Danfo offers unparalleled, curated, and bespoke tours across Africa for travelers seeking genuine cultural experiences, enriched with magnificent sights, sounds, and flavors found on the continent. Each trip is reliably curated to ensure visitors are gifted with an immersive and authentic adventure. Whether you find yourself strolling along the charming white sand beaches of Sierra Leone, feasting on the mouth-watering delicious foods in Senegal, observing or partaking in various aspects of the Isheshi traditional system Ifa native to Yoruba land, Nigeria, with Danfo, you will rediscover a fulfilling sense of kinship to the true heart of the motherland, her communities. Our core values focus on integrity, quality, safety, and sustainability. We are uniquely committed to assisting with the advancement of African infrastructure and promoting African businesses, so both travelers and the communities they visit receive beneficial exchanges. At Danfo, we understand the importance of connectivity, and we have created a model which provides bespoke experiences based on your passions or hobbies. With us, expect a long-lasting spiritual bond between you and your destinations. Live, love, Danfo Africa. To learn more, visit danfo.africa.
Peace, family. We are live again. Dynasty Mirror Search for Uhuru. Thank you all. Thanks so much for joining. Hit that like button and please hit that like button. Also, make sure you share and make sure you subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Got a couple of announcements. Y'all, is Benjamin Netanyahu? Did he get murked? I don't know. Did he get murked? That's what people are assuming. That's the rumor. But I doubt it. Again, I doubt it. But I don't know. It'll be interesting. But guys, hit the like button again. Please hit the like button. Also, make sure you share and make sure you subscribe. Got a couple of announcements. Announcement number one: we are rolling. Let me make sure I'm on the wrong mic before I start talking too much. All right, announcement number one: we are rolling to Senegal. We are rolling to Senegal. That's going to be May 9th to the 18th. May 9th to the 18th. We are rolling. Y'all like my fella shirt? Y'all like this? Is dope, ain't it? My fella shirt. This is dope. May 9th to the 18th, we are rolling to Senegal. If you're interested in joining us, please visit Danfo. That's Danfo, not Africa. Again, please visit Danfo. That's Danfo. Africa to learn more. We would love to host you on one of our trips. So come and join us. We're also going to Nigeria in August for Oshun, Zanzibar in September for Safari Blue, and then we're going to Ghana and Ivory Coast in November. So that's what we're doing. Yeah, let's jump into it. Interesting podcast. Joy Reid on the 154 podcast with Godfrey, and I forgot the name of the other host on the podcast. And they were talking about Harvard legacies and how, the nepotism and how these legacies get into Harvard because, they're legacies. They're either connected to somebody or they had a family member or, generations that have attended and graduated from Harvard. So they're next in line. And she said the dumbest people she met were Harvard legacies. And this has a lot to do with, ending of DEI and whatnot. Now, how can these white legacies get to skip a line, but you guys are getting rid of DEI? In fact, let me pull the clip up. Let me pull the clip up and we'll hear from her. directly. Here we go.
White men are self-selecting out of college. And so now when you open up the opportunity to go to Harvard, the people who are prepared to go to Harvard, who are busting their ass in high school trying to get good grades, are immigrant kids who they're chasing away. You know, the international student body is plummeting. And that's what keeps these schools open, because the international students, like our parents, the government paid their bill. There was.
See, this is the, I hear what she's saying, and I hear what you're saying, Larry. But this is the problem, Larry. And you're going to disagree, Larry, and you're more than welcome to call in. When are people like Joy Reid, myself included, when are we going to start building our own institutions? In the Congo, where she's from, in Nigeria, in Sierra Leone. That's the elephant in the room. When are we going to start building our own institutions that rival or are better than Harvard? That compete with Harvard and Princeton and Yale and Oxford University on the continent. That's the conversations that we need to have is that we suffer from a lack of institutions. Let's continue.
No, they weren't paying for it. My father got his education because the government of the Congo paid for it, then Zaire. And so when you take the kids coming from China, that full payment from the Chinese government is gone. And the American kids who need student loans, who in many cases aren't even prepared for college, you're now whittling it down, and you're expecting white men to carry.
Well, we don't have to compete. I said institutions that are better or on the same level, but are better than Harvard. When will we create and build our own institutions in Africa? So you don't even have to worry about this.
The burden. I mean, if you think, if I was a white guy, I'd be kind of offended. You want me to be all the pilots? You want me to be all the people in the Defense Department? You want me to do all the jobs? I got to be every job. I got to go to all the Harvards. I got to do all these things. And I've been told for a generation, don't even go to college at all. So a lot of these guys are not even prepared. So they're not even qualified.
There's a lot that qualified. A lot of them are mediocre anyway.
So they weren't prepared. And so it's like,
so if the legacies are mediocre at a PWI institution, what does that say about us if we're not building our own institutions? Shout out to Gustavo, thank you for $2 holla. Dinah, somebody changed the FBA hotspot password. Thank you for the $2 holla. What does that say about us if we're not building our own institutions?
They expected that this would mean that Harvard would now be like 80% white men. It isn't. The majority of college students in America are women. More white women go to college than white men. And so now when they're looking at it, they're not getting the white man bonanza they expected. And the Stephen Millers of the world are mad about it.
And he needs to go
The Hague. That's one place he should be. The Hague.
He thinks he's so dope. And I think, and there's a lot of, did you notice the first person to get a PhD is W.B. Du Bois, right?
Du Bois, yeah.
But Harvard. If you notice when you were at Harvard, there was just legacy people where they were like dumb people.
Absolutely.
It's like, you dumb as hell.
Some of the dumbest people I met in the world were people at Harvard who were legacies. The smartest people I met. Ketanji Brown Jackson, I went to college with her. She was a year behind me. Smartest person I ever met.
Ketanji doesn't know the difference between a man and a woman, but that's another topic. But let's continue.
Her roommates, geniuses, genius, all four of them, because they had to work 10 times as hard
just to get in.
get in. Whereas the legacy kids, they didn't go to class. They were high. They were smoking weed because they didn't have to even get grades.
And the point I'm making, Joy Reid, also note to myself, Ketanji Brown, excuse me, if I butcher her name, I apologize. Should be trying her hardest and getting those SAT scores and getting those good grades, taking them AP courses, so she could go to the University of Kinshasa or Unilag, not Harvard. They should be wanting to go to, again, Unilag, the University of Kinshasa, if there's such a thing. That's why we need to build up our own institutions.
Good grades. It didn't matter. They grade on a curve at Harvard, so they weren't going to fail. I got E's when I'm talking about failing. I got an E. They didn't give you an F because they made it on a curve, and they try to keep you in. They put you on academic probation, et cetera. These guys go from academic probation to a ritzy job on Wall Street, even if they passed no classes. These people didn't work. They didn't try. They didn't have to do anything but play lacrosse on the weekends and chill and get high.
Okay. So what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it?
We're producing a group of people who are coming out of Harvard who are no more educated than had they not gone at all, because they didn't have to even read a book while they were there, because they're legacies, and they don't deserve to be there
at all
in high school
at all.
And yet they had the name. I mean, I went to college with a woman whose name was on one of the buildings. Of course she got in. Her name is on a building.
All right, because her family, she's a legacy.
Her family's a legacy. So it's like that person, is that person smarter?
Of course she's good. Oh my Lord. Guys, come on. Yes, if your name is on a building, of course you're gonna get in. It shouldn't be any other way. Like, I wouldn't be mad. If I pull up to a building, if I go to class and I'm going into a building that's named after somebody, and that person's legacy, all right, applies to attend this university, why wouldn't they get accepted? Unless they have like a felony or something. But yeah, if their name is on the building, then of course they're gonna get in. Thank you for the super chat, Dennis. I thought we had HBCUs, that's our institutions. Well, we don't value them. Obviously, if you listen to Joy Reid, we got to go to Harvard. Morehouse doesn't count.
Than Ketanji? No. But that person gets to get it, and no one questions their presence.
None.
No one says, is that okay? No. But they say that this affirmative action genius kid from Ohio somewhere that busted their ass in high school doesn't belong there simply because they're Black. No. That's America.
Yeah, and you've had this interesting thing talking about the United States and just kind of the things that are going on now. You've talked about dictators from other countries getting killed after they tried to stop trading with U.S. currency.
I wanted a trip I'd never forget. The hotel was so beautiful. People, flavors, new experiences. Chase Sapphire Reserve.
Websites your competitors don't want you to know, part 2. All you do is go to this website, and it lets you find out.
Explain that and what happens diplomatically with the U.S. and other countries who might try to do things differently than the way the U.S. expects them to.
Right, and again, it's talking context, right? Saddam Hussein was evil, but when he was our guy that we were using as a prop to fight Iran, he was our guy. We were paying for him. We were propping him up and keeping him in power, despite how cruel he was to his own people. We didn't care. He used our chemical weapons to bomb Iran in their war in the 1980s. We were fine with it. And then when we decided we were done with him because he wanted to then start to nationalize his own oil, then we were like, let's overthrow that guy. Mossadegh, the president of Iran, duly elected, The people loved him, but he said, I want to nationalize our oil. This is our oil. It should benefit us. We were like, no, BP owns that oil. Knocked him off, put in the shop.
What was that? Oh, yeah. What was that guy's name?
Mossadegh, the guy in Iran. And then you go to, we propped up the, completely authoritarian government in Egypt for 42 years because they were playing ball with us. As long as you do what we say, you can be a dictator. We actually don't care about whether you're a dictator and hurt your own people. Mobutu Sese Seko, in my father's country, he was the CIA's guy. 42 years he oppressed the people of who had already been so much with King Leopold. He knocks off Patrice Lumumba, who was their George Washington, who was the man, right? Wow. And the CIA says, not good enough. You're not going to do what we say. Go away. We're going to give you Mobutu. You will have it. We did it Salvador Allende. We give them Pinochet. In Chile, we destroyed Chile because they elected somebody who didn't obey us. Yeah. So the U.S. has a history of destroying countries by getting rid of their elected governments when they won't obey us and give us their resources. Trump operates that way. He says, the Panama Canal is ours. Give it to us or we're going to destroy you. Cuba is in the dark right now because we're going to pressure Cuba.
See, this is disingenuous because Obama did the same thing. Clinton did the same thing. She conveniently skips over Gaddafi, which is just disingenuous. Go ahead, M.
Thank you, sir. I think this is absolutely disgusting. This is sad, man. First of all,
hey, M, you sound real muffled.
Hold on. Let me turn off this this heat. How do I sound now?
Yeah, we'll work with it. I know you're probably driving, so.
Yeah. Let me turn off this. Let me turn off this AC. I don't want to take all the time up just doing this, but I should have had it on point. But what about now?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's disgusting for several reasons. Number one, our good brother Corey Holcomb has a show called 5150. Mm-hmm. And Godfrey's from Chicago. He's a comedian. Both of them. Right. Why would he just appropriate his show like that? And that's obviously too close to be a coincidence.
I don't know, man. 154, 5150. I don't know.
I would equate it to Dr. Umar taking your name. You see what that's too close. His acronyms sound too close to your acronym, but neither here nor there. I digress. But as far as talking about they should be in Harvard, and you were saying how we should have our own our own institutions in Africa, I would say this: some of the best performing colleges in America are HBCUs. As a matter of fact, Tuskegee Institute pioneered modern education. It introduced, when I read his book, I read Booker T. Washington's book, Up from Slavery. When he was sent to Tuskegee to build the school, he brought a man of slave plantation. And then as they started building buildings, they was actually learning as they go. But all of his discoveries with his trial and error, he raised money by going to places like Chicago, Pennsylvania, New York, doing lectures, teaching his discoveries to get funded. Eventually, he had so many speaking engagements. He had to turn a lot of. He got doctorate degrees from all of these Ivy League colleges just to speak. When he went to Europe, when he went to France and England, and he met Queen Victoria. Like in France, everybody in France and England wanted to hear him talk because they was fascinated with his discoveries. So you got Columbia College, you got School of Art Institute. Any school that teaches you practice and theory are all based on Tuskegee. And Harvard itself, it was actually built by enslaved black people. Harvard, Yale, University of North Carolina, University of Chapel Hill, not University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. There's so many of these Ivy League colleges that was actually built by us, and that was conveniently left out. And how she is talking, how Godfrey is talking, the other guys talking, as if they're somehow entitled to go to these particular schools, as if these schools are big enough to house everybody in Africa, everybody in China, everybody in the world wants to go to these schools. And it got so bad that the Chinese sued because they say they were being discriminated against because the school preferred the black students over them. And they say it's because the black students had lower test scores. But I read an article from UC Berkeley. They say the reason they prefer black students over Chinese students is because character traits and And the equivalency is the black students have a lot of problems in their community and in society that prevents them from putting their effort towards studying, like even needing a job or having to deal with gang violence and then have to study. They say the other students don't have those problems, but if it was equivalent, the black students will probably outperform them. And usually when there's like social issues, the black students are always in the forefront. It's so many aspects how black people, when it comes to something that we follow, we usually do it as a whole. Other groups are more like divided. So it's a number of reasons that Berkeley say that they choose the black students over the Chinese, and it really is not about test scores. But as far as like Joy Reid saying the white students are entitled, like, do you realize if it wasn't for the civil rights movement that it wasn't mentioned, you wouldn't even be in America at all, let alone going to Harvard. And the people who was here fighting in the Civil War, who actually some of them fought to help us get out of slavery, they're the city. You telling me you got more of a right to go to the school that, for one, was built off slavery, for two, was maintained by these white people. You have nothing to do with nothing. Talking about you busting your A, and then because you got somehow good grades, you should have a better opportunity than the descendants of the people who, for one, financed the school, finance construction of the school. What else they do? They maintain the school. You just popped up from Cameroon, and what else you from? Like Guyana. You have no equity in the country. You have no equity in the school, and you feel you should just come in and just remove these people out the way for whatever reason. I don't see how. And then you look at how they carry themselves. Like every culture in the world, they all got a particular disposition about themselves. They all don't talk and act the same, but they have this archetype, Black American archetype. We see it in movies like Hoodlum. We see it with Cicely Tyson, Sidney Poitier, Belafonte, and then they all model themselves after that. Instead of maintaining their cultural disposition or their archetypes from their country and then integrating those into American society, they basically are a person wouldn't even be able to tell they from Africa if you listen to these people talk. So they totally abandon who they are, and then they feel that they have the rights to come to our schools and nobody else here. But I'm saying, like, they feel that they have every right to be here, even though they suffered none of the atrocities. They suffered like none of the slavery. They suffered no Jim Crow. They didn't help build any of the schools. They financed nothing, and they feel they should have access to the same opportunities as Americans, even if they white Americans, And then like you say, they should be all of these people with doctorate degrees and PhDs from Africa should do what we did in the 1800s when we had less education. We was building our own schools and making those schools flourish and pioneering techniques, pioneering systems and innovating and creating technology with the freedom that we had. Like in the book, The Count of Monte Cristo, when they was in prison, he said neglect is our ally. They don't give a crap about us. Because of that, we're going to spend all of this time that they not mess with us to figure out how we're going to break out. And then I'm going to educate you. We're going to use this to our advantage. Like, I guess you could say, okay, during the early 1900s, Africans were under apartheid in South Africa or colonialism. They basically were slaves to the King Leopold. They probably didn't have the time, but now they have the time to focus on building institutions and building schools. They don't really have the excuse that they was just forced to just labor for some European superpower or some multinational corporation. Even though in like Sierra Leone, they still have the people picking cocoa for France, basically virtual slaves. You have the people in the Congo digging up cobalt, where you got people mining. So they still are subjecting themselves to perpetual servitude. But I think a lot of them should focus, like you say, a lot of them should focus on going back to their home countries and building institutions instead of trying to squeeze or wedge their way into a PWI, predominantly white institution, you know.
I'm gonna read these super chats. JC Inc. Thanks for $1.99. Holla 154, one continent and 54 countries. That's what that's the podcast. That's what it means. That's what it stands for. Gustavo, thank you for $5 holla. The China students' lawsuit was misguided. They went against the low-hanging fruit, affirmative action instead of the real problem, legacy admissions. All right, guys. Links in the chat room. If you want to call in, you're more than welcome to call in and add to the conversation. You're more than welcome to call in and add to the conversations if you want to. If not, we'll close out soon. And where in the States do you stay?
I live in Chicago.
Okay.
I live in Chicago. I was I was a Muslim my whole life. But it wasn't until I started to study the Dogon. I know this is off the subject. I don't want to go off.
Go ahead.
But when I studied the Dogon, I finally understood what the crescent and the star meant. You know what I'm talking about? In the Dogon philosophy and then basically quantum physics and most modern science, they study that because it deals with a lot of particle literature, string theory. But Emma's egg, Emma cracked the egg. They talk about the Big Bang, but when you look at the crescent and you look at the star, that's basically what it is. And I was thinking, why did the Muslims, the Songhai and the Mali Empire allow these people to exist? They must have knew that they preserved the truth, because if you look at all the religions, you got the Greek philosophy, you got the Anunnaki in Mesopotamia, and you have the Egyptian, a lot more like Shintoism. They all got basically this. Even in the Bible, it's like when I was talking to Brandon about the first chapter of the Bible, that's almost identical to the Dogon creation story. But when I was talking about the Nomo, who are the ancestors of the Dogon, they are the descendants of Emma. The earth, like in the Greek philosophy, you have Kronos and Gaia. You know, Gaia means the earth, and then Kronos impregnated the earth and had the gods, and they bought basically 8 of them. But in the Dogon philosophy, it was 8 twins, nomos, and then 1 went astray, so it became 7. The number 7 went astray, and then Emma sacrificed.
Oh, okay, yeah. We getting way off topic. My bad, bro.
You got other cats in the. Let me stop talking.
Yeah, let me pass the mic. Go ahead, Bang. Unmute yourself, Bang.
Yeah, give me 1 second. Let Elvis go after me.
Go ahead, Elvis. Unmute yourself, Elvis.
All right, thank you, Dinas. And hello to you in the panel, in the chat. I mean, I didn't see anything that she said to be off. I think everything she said was accurate. Now, with your analysis that Black people need more institution, that's true. But again, you have to build it. But most of these institutions, they need a lot of money. They have to have a large endowment to hire the best professors, to maintain a high level, of education for their students. And I think that's something that some of the HBCUs are lacking. They have to get subsidies from the government to just, keep afloat. And also the best academic students tend to want to go to these not legacy schools, but historically great, colleges like Harvard and Ivy League schools, and a few others. So I think Joy Reid admitted that she got into Harvard through affirmative action. And some people, that takes away the luster of her hard work, because yes, you get there through affirmative action, but it doesn't mean that you didn't have the grades and you didn't have the academic, rigor to get into to the college. But what she's saying is, if you have $100 million and you donate $20 million to Harvard for, a section in the science department or in the math department, your kids, have a better chance of getting in, of course, even if their grades don't match up with a Joy Reid, who is, a Black woman, and have a lot of disadvantage in terms of getting in, So I don't see anything that she said was wrong. I don't know why you're criticizing her. I think everything that it was talking about was spot on. And people who go to college know that as a black person, sometimes if you're writing a college application and you're the first person in your family to go to college, that might be helpful and beneficial to you. You know, if your GPA is high or the high school that you went to, your school district, all of those things play a factor in whether you get accepted into college. But in the Ivy League, it's a lot different because you have to be part of the 1% of the 1% in terms of academic, talent. So her getting to Harvard is a great thing, and many black people who get into Harvard definitely deserve it. And what she said about Justice Jackson is true. She's literally one of the smartest person, in her class at that time, and she's really, really a brilliant woman.
Hey, Elvis, does she know the difference between a man and a woman?
I mean, you have to go and ask her that question. She was trying to answer it, trying to do a got you question in the Senate, but she still got confirmed as a justice. It doesn't take away from her legal astuteness, and her mind as a legal practitioner. I think she's really sharp. Certain social things can be complicated to certain people, but with the field that she's training, she's really, really astute in that field and adept in that field. So you can't take anything away from her. So I don't know. I'll pass the mic and we'll see how the conversation goes.
All right, go ahead, Christopher. Unmute yourself, Gustav.
My bad, Dennis. I thought Bang was supposed to go before, after Elvis.
Okay. Bang, you ready?
So let him go after him. Yeah,
go ahead,
after him.
All right, Dennis. Shout out to the panel. Great conversation so far. I just wanted to say, what Joy Reid is saying is very important. One thing that I like about what she's saying is that's overlooked is, the FBAs, the AAs, the Solons, or whatever everybody calls themselves, all these college educated folks, they need to come together and instead of donating these millions of dollars to these institutions, I mean, we need a black super PAC, not trying to change the conversation so much, but talking about building our own institutions. One institution that we need is our own political institution, and just with the recent situation with Jasmine Crockett, like her or not, she raised $7 million and Talarico raised over $20 million. The black community always has a boast of a $1 trillion spending power. Why don't we have the same, model as the Jews with AIPAC? We could start with a PAC and maybe, increase it to a super PAC. She's not wrong. It's just a little bit misguided because we can't even get our political figures in there to, steer our ideals and our things that we need in our community to go through. Instead of the FBA's fighting with the continental Africans and everybody else. I mean, I think we should band together. I mean, look at what happened in Minnesota. Look at the Somalis. The Somalis in the mayoral race in Minneapolis. It was between a Somali guy and then a white guy who were running for mayor, and the white guy spoke the Somali language. I mean, that's how good these guys are. The white guy had to even come down and learn their language and speak Somali with the Somalians. That's how these guys have all these money. So instead of the FBA's fighting on everybody, they need to figure out how to band together, and then try to get everybody on code where we can start putting our money where our mouth is. Instead of, you get a lot of educated Africans, a lot of Africans that come to this country and go to college and go to the Harvards and go to the Yales and go to the, HBCUs and get all these grants. And all, we need to band our money together. I mean, all about the Susu stuff that Africans be doing, and look at the Somalis and the stuff that they've been able to do in Minnesota. We need to take that and make that more nationalistic and start, thinking about a PAC. We need a political institution. We need our own APAC. That's my point. Instead of all this infighting and and every time is this person and that person, and and doing that. We need to focus. We need to focus on putting our money where our mouth is, so we can get something actually done in this country. You know, Jasmine Crocker shouldn't be only to raise $7 million. I mean, come on, look at all these people in Dallas. You know, all these educated folks, and she can only raise $7 million. Come on. So, you know, I think with everything that's going on with our policies and stuff, we really need to put our money and then quit complaining about all this stuff. You know, I'll pass the mic. Thank you.
Go ahead, Bang.
Yeah. How's everybody? Thanks. How you doing? This
Good.
is can you hear me? This is what I gotta say about these crazy Democrats like Joy Reid's. Because to me she's one of those people, one of them crazy Democrats that's been enjoying the top, and as a news media, spreading all type of propaganda, just like how you was mentioning, and all these things, right? And then at the same time, if you in a white institution, right? Everything is white. You went to a white school, you work for a white institution, right? But then you think you are better than the average black person or the average so-called African or the average, you know what I'm saying, like Caribbean, and then you get sacked, and then now you want to come out publicly, and then you want to say all these so-called truth. But before you didn't want to say it. You spread misinformation for years upon years, right? Because it benefits you. You live a fancy life. You live a better life than average. The average black person, and you had access to a lot of things that it was still controlled by the white people. And then you want to talk about legacy. To me, ain't nothing about legacy, because then if my family name dominated that school to what it is, I have the right to go to that school, because at the end of the day, that is an institution that my people added tremendously years ago, before it is what it is. So I don't understand some of these crazy Democrats, man. To me, she's like one of them those type of Democrats that I'm like, you doing too much. I know what you're doing, but that's you can eventually you can get out of the hand. But all this institution, start your own colleges and all that. I mean, black people, I said this before, right? A couple of days ago. Some black people want access to whiteness. That's all it is. They just want access to whiteness, man. And then you can't blame the white folks when they use you the way they're supposed to, because you come into their door. You coming into the institution. Their purpose is to suck the blood out of you to benefit their institution. You can't blame it. I mean, I don't know why people don't have a mindset of creating their own. I have no. To me, the best way is to create your own.
Ahmed, did you go to college?
Why you want to ask me all these questions?
You can choose to answer or not. It's just a question.
Why you want to ask me all these questions?
Because the reason I'm asking is because getting a degree is one thing. Right, getting a degree is one thing, right? The thing that make people want to go to certain schools is, part of it is the prestige of the school, but also it's the professors that you're going to learn from. If you're learning from a professor who's okay, all right. I was going to explain why I asked the question, but that's fine. If you're learning from a professor who's a top of his field, and he's a brilliant mind, you want to sit under his tutelage and learn from that person. That education is more valuable than going to just a regular college with a middle of the line professor.
I'm not saying you wrong, but at the end of the day, in life, you have to create your own. It don't matter the level that you start. If you think America is a white country and white control this and that, you can't go to the institution that they create, and then at the same time you add value into it that they still control. You can't come back 20 years later or 30 years and bitch about it. You can't do that. Life don't work like that. You understand me, right? You can't benefit off something for the last 25 or 30 years or whatever, and then when they do decide to cut the plug on you, then you want to come and talk about all this and all that.
No, I mean, the argument is that people were talking about affirmative action and equating it to, black people not having the intellectual capacity to get into Harvard, and because of affirmative action, they were getting into Harvard. She was juxtaposing that to white students, or even drawing a parallel to white students who had legacy at the colleges and their families. Hold
Hey,
on.
can I ask you something, Elvis?
Okay, go ahead, brother.
Are you finished, the other guy?
No, go ahead.
Is the other guy finished?
No,
So,
go ahead,
Elvis, you just said affirmative action has something to do with black people not having the mental capacity to get into Harvard.
No,
Do
that's
you
not what I'm
know?
saying. If you listen, if I finish, I said Joy Reid comment was somewhat in response to people who said that, with that whole lawsuit against affirmative action and it being struck down by the Supreme Court, the arguments that people were making, especially the Asians, were that the black people were, they were not qualified, or they didn't have the grades, they didn't have the intellectual capacity to go to a school like Harvard, but because of affirmative action, they were getting accepted over the Asians
Okay,
who were more
okay.
qualified, quote unquote, than
Let me
they
ask you
were.
this: do you know how affirmative action came into existence?
I mean, I don't understand if you know. I don't know if you know what I'm saying. I'm not saying that's my
I
argument.
mean,
I'm saying that's the
Do you
argument people
know?
was making.
I mean, either regardless of that, do you know the history of affirmative action? How did it come into existence?
No, you can explain it to me.
It was a president by the name of John F. Kennedy. You heard of him, right?
Yeah, yeah.
He got his noodles knocked out on in the what's he call it? Everybody saw the video. But in 1960, I mean, what was this? What year was this? 1961. He signed executive order for affirmative action dealing with government contracts. Not he was saying that anybody could apply for a government contract regardless of race. It had nothing to do with school, it had nothing to do with jobs. It was about getting government contracts. When they signed the Civil Rights Act, it codified it with Congress, and it included everything. And then it included white women, all minorities. It was convoluted, it was diluted, right? So affirmative action really wasn't a problem with us, other than us, a business entrepreneur. It only affected entrepreneurs. And then later on, Nixon created the Minority Business Development Association. I think they created the SBA in the 70s. But as far as going to school, black people was going, like Booker T, like I said earlier, Booker T. Washington had doctorate degrees and honorary degrees from all of them colleges. But do you believe that Joy Reid, an immigrant, has more right to affirmative action than a black American? Does she
I
have more
mean,
of a right to benefit from affirmative action than a black American?
you're making this into an argument with me. I'm not making any of those points. What I'm
Does she
simply
have
saying,
should she as a person who has nothing to do with the history of the civil rights movement, don't have nothing to do with the 1960s, has nothing to do with slavery, why would she have access to affirmative action?
Let me
I
say
meant,
this, right?
I meant to say no.
Let me,
I meant to say no. No, I meant to say no. She should get more preferential treatment over,
Why?
let me say this.
Why?
Let me say this,
because
right?
her ancestors didn't fight for that. I gotta, yeah.
Why should she get anything?
No.
Well, I
let me
said
say
no.
this, let me say
I
this.
said no. I said
Okay,
no.
okay.
I
Sorry.
mean,
Let me say
that's
this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you. That's
Let
you.
me say this. Elvis,
Hold on.
Elvis,
That's you
Elvis,
putting the
let me
burden on
respond.
her. Did she
Let me
give
respond.
herself affirmative action? Who had the power to give it to her?
Why does she not? Like me personally, if I go to Africa and you say you got a moral compass, sometimes you got to turn things down for somebody else. Like what the African people do. I don't know what type of moral compass they have, or I'm not trying to generalize, but it seems like they're opportunists. They will know that there's black people who've been going through all of the problems, who just now are trying to get, and they will take that position from that black American with no shame. They will
Okay,
not. I believe they will not refuse. Like Obama, his mother's a white woman. His father's a Kenyan. Why should he get any preferential treatment? His family hasn't been victims of any type of oppression. Why should he get
When I
affirmative
was
action?
applying for colleges, right? I had teachers, like my history teacher, Mr. Brown, who was a black African American male. He was helping me apply for college, and he was the one that was opening my eyes to certain grants and certain things. Like a few of the, because I was a first generation immigrant who was going to college. He'd
Why
tell
do
you
you
about,
deserve anything?
right, fine, that's what you'll say. But I'm telling you that they'll tell you these opportunities that's there for you as a black person, not as an African American or
So you're a
African.
black person now. You're not
I
an
mean, bro,
African when it comes to
no,
signing
just
up for the
listen. I'm a
benefits.
black
Now
person
y'all
by,
black.
yeah, I'm a black person by race, right? And those programs are there for black people racially. They're not segregating that this is only for African Americans. They're for black
They're for
people.
they're for all minorities. They're for white women. They're for Latinos.
Yeah, but the
But when you
certain programs
now,
I was going for was for black families, first time college, attendees, and those kinds of programs that I benefited from. So yeah,
yeah, you
they don't
benefited
they don't.
from things. Go ahead. I'm not.
Yeah, because those things are available to me as a black person, right? If they exclude me as an African, sure, then I don't qualify for it. But it doesn't say those things in those programs that you're disqualified if you're not an African American. That's
Did
the
you
point
ever
I'm
feel?
making.
Did you ever feel guilty from taking benefits from people
I mean, of course, at
that
that time, I was only like 18 years old. I didn't have the mind that I have
you
now.
didn't
So
feel
no, at
guilty?
that time, I didn't feel guilty.
You didn't feel ashamed
However,
that you was taking
on the
benefits?
flip side, it's the same thing when African Americans go to Africa and they get citizenship, they get preferential treatment, they get land, they get all that. It's the same thing. So you can't say on the flip side, come on, man, you can't say that.
This is the host talking. Gustav, as far as the land goes, that land is so shady. That so-called free land, it ain't even worth talking about.
It's still preferential treatment, Dennis. They still skip the line.
Gustav, those free land deals are so complicated and shady. It's not even worth bragging about. All right, let me pass the mic. Bang, are you done, Bang?
Let me say something to M, right? You know, institutions like colleges, right? At the end of the day, most of them are private owned, right? So then they got to do what's supposed, like what benefits them. So they look at the smartest kids, and then the requirements, right? So it's not like some of these Africans don't earn these things, and it's not like these colleges are going specifically. Oh, I got to pick somebody that is American. No, some of these colleges, just like how you got professors that are not American, you got many professors that are highly educated that are not Americans, and you have some of these elite colleges, making sure that they come and then they become a professor in their own colleges. So it's the same way. So I don't understand as if someone come up here, in America, right, spend about a couple years or like 5 or 6 years in middle school and in high school, and then automatically become super smart, and then you have colleges that just say, "Oh, come to our college." How can you blame that individual then?
Perfect example. Now, I mentioned David Blackwell before in
Hey, Dinus, can I get in there at some point?
Yeah, K2. Let me pass. Go ahead, K2.
Go ahead.
Yeah, look, I just want to say this. Like, full disclaimer, I don't pay no attention to what Joy Reid is talking about. Like, it's all
she false,
babble.
man.
But a broken clock can be right twice a day or whatever the hell they say that is. So this is the point. The thing that nobody's even talking about with this is, like, even outside of what Joy Reid said, Tucker Carlson himself even said that Ted Cruz and Ben Shapiro both went to Harvard, and they're idiots. The point is that just because you go to Harvard does not mean that you're, I did this and that with my grades or whatever, or however the hell you got into it, whether you had money before or whatever you did, to get in there or whatever, that does not mean that you are. I knew a person when I was in school, and he was also an African, right? Came from, I forget where he was from. I've met a lot of, my brothers from all over the globe or whatever, but he was there before. I don't know if it was too expensive or whatever the deal was or whatever, but he ended up at the same school that I was going to, right? But the point is this, that does that make him less smart? But here's the thing. You saying that, hey, if you put it on a job application, which really in these times that doesn't matter, but if you say, hey, I went to Harvard, or you say I went to Atlanta City Community College, those mean two different things. If you say, hey, man, I got my degree from Atlanta City Community College, and you say, oh, no, I got my degree from Harvard or whatever, they're just going to automatically in your mind think that this person is smarter, even though this person might be dumb as a box of rocks.
Nah, not true.
No.
It quantifies your intellectual
We're not going to do that.
aptitude.
We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that.
No, let
No,
K2
we're not going to do
K2
that.
finish. Go ahead, K2.
Yeah, we're not going to do that. Look,
But
blank period.
K2, I agree with you because I experienced that in corporate America. So I agree with you. Go ahead.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's like that isn't the actual reality of it. Like, I think that we all can agree that, a person can go to community college and be smarter. A person cannot go to college at all and might be smarter than this person. But if you have that Harvard, Cornell, Ivy League on your resume, it means something. In corporate America, when you're trying to get that high level job, you might be able to get a regular level job graduating from
K2, if I can interject real quick. So when I was in corporate America, I was saying the same thing. If you had that Ivy League degree from Ivy League school or somewhere like Notre Dame, Stanford, you get put
Cornell.
Cornell's Ivy school, Ivy League school. But you get put, you get put in a completely different category versus. And I went to the University of Georgia, was a good school. But if you had an Ivy League degree from Ivy League school or from Notre Dame or Stanford, you get put in a completely different.
Why do you think that is?
Like from the difference of being an executive to just being a regular worker, right?
Because those schools are more academically rigorous.
I'm asking Dynast. Hold up, Dynast. Mm-hmm. But when you get put in a different category or whatever, like from being an executive to being like a regular worker, like from being a salesman to being not
even that necessarily. Just if you're just going for like just I don't know. It doesn't necessarily have to be a executive job, just a normal job. Like if you have that Ivy League degree, or again Notre Dame or Stanford, or from a prestigious university like MIT or Walden Business School, whatever it's called. Oh, they
get your foot in the door.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
But why do you think it is? Why do you think corporation respects those schools so much?
Now we see how detrimental it is.
But this is what I'm saying with that, right? Because I don't pay no attention to anything that Joy Reid is talking about. I don't really care what any of them are talking about. The point is this: when they talk about some of these people that are at these prestigious schools are not necessarily as smart as you would just think that they are, because they say that they came from Stanford or they came from Notre Dame or whatever. That does not necessarily mean that all of a sudden you got to write off what they say as being correct because they come from that school. They could be an idiot. They could be somebody that just came from money. They could be, but we feed into that too much. One. Two.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Now, y'all just made really great points that people with these degrees get seen a certain light. So do you think African people should benefit from affirmative action and then get those type of prestigious accolades? Because imagine if it was exclusive to Black Americans.
Ask the question. Just ask the question. We don't need a monologue.
Okay. I'll just ask the question. Do you think Africans should get benefits from affirmative action and then have access to that prestige?
So in my opinion, I think that if they're qualified, sure. However, the way that we perceive that prestige, quote unquote, is the issue. I don't give a damn if, once again, I knew, and I don't look at it in the same way that, oh, this African, he's coming here and he's getting it, unless you're on some other stuff where you think that you're smarter than the next person because you got into Harvard off of some other, I don't know, affirmative action type stuff, whatever. But this is my whole thing. That has never in my mind made this person, oh yeah, so I went to Harvard, I got a degree from Harvard, so okay, cool, you're working at Whole Foods with me. You know what I'm saying? When I'm going through college to pay through college, like that doesn't mean anything. It means something if you're actually intelligent, and you can tell if you're intelligent by the way that you speak, or what not just by the way that you speak, but what you're talking about. A lot of these people, you might have this higher intelligence and you went to this and that, but what are you doing with it? You know, Dynas, you even
Dynas,
say
please give me 30
yourself or
seconds
whatever.
before
Like,
you go
hey,
to the
you
next
know,
No,
person.
you
I
got to
gotta
put in
pass
the
the mic.
work.
K2, you got 30 seconds. I gotta pass the mic to anti-moralist. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So the long and the short, what I'm gonna say is this: I don't care where you went. It matters about what you do. I don't care if you're from Africa or this, that, and the third. It doesn't matter. It matters about what you do. But just because you went somewhere does not mean that you're just intelligent off the jump. That's all I'm gonna say. Go ahead.
All right, anti-moralist, go ahead.
Okay, so I'll ask the question. So I agree with the statement, but I think it requires nuance. One, I think the reason with Harvard specifically first is that I do agree that the people who do go there often got there through legacy admission. Not all of them, but the ones who are kind of bragging about it usually did go through legacy admission. Sometimes other people will go have a different attitude towards it. They may grow up knowing the door was already open to them because someone they knew went there. While an immigrant kid, for example, first generation, maybe they got a scholarship. It's very different. And the reason I look at it different is because these universities are not all the same. When you look at Stanford or Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, they're far more impressive, for example, than Harvard. Now, that doesn't mean that somebody who went there is smarter by default, but you have to look at like historically. Harvard's history has been very historically it's evolved around training the American governing class. Those are the people who study law, politics, finance, and sometimes social leadership. The environment naturally is going to produce people who want to go there to get elite networks. So legacy admissions and family connections fit there very well in Harvard. But when you look at Stanford and MIT, they grew out of engineering, science, innovation. Some of the best published papers that I've been studying in college are from MIT, for example. So I can't act like these are the same because MIT, its entire institution is based on the technology they produce and the innovations they have. Those people are going to be far more smarter, but those are not the people who are going to be running your country. Those are the people who are going to be knowing physics, engineering, math, and they don't really care where your parents are. They care. For example, I know uh, uh, a fellow citizen from my country who went to Stanford. Okay, he got an engineering degree there with a master's and went to get a PhD engineering degree there. That matters far more when it comes to those areas. And when you look at Stanford specifically, it grew alongside Silicon Valley. And those companies, technology, research labs matter far more working with those institutions because they get to make some of the most advanced apps that we know that today in advanced technology like silicon, conductors, for example, battery, research paper startups, they usually grew around that systems. So those people are a different class. Those are the engineering class. And I think, though, also the thing I want to confirm is that seems that people have a problem like with Africans accessing these networks, but they don't really see like when it comes to like affirmative action, like you mentioned, affirmative action when it affects Africans specifically, that seems to be an issue for some reason. But what about Asians? What about Latinos? They use the same system, but they're not being questioned about it. That's kind of seems like it seems like there's a sense of like what's the word specifically I'm looking for? Envy and that's the only way I can put it. It seems like envy. But if you care about these labels, that says a little bit about you. Like, why do you care about them? Do you care about them because they are this is the field you want to go into, or do you care about them because they actually have some weight? For example, because I've said, if you're going to go to MIT or Stanford, that probably is going to matter a lot more in the engineering circle because they tend to produce the best engineers. That's all I have to say for that.
All right, let me pass the mic to Sandman. Is Africa. Go ahead, Sandman.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, yeah, thank you for letting me on there. Yeah, I just wanted to say that that I think there's a divide here because we need to understand there's different types of intelligences. We have some people have like analytical intelligence, some people have emotional intelligence, some people have visual intelligence, some people have verbal intelligence. So the typical IQ test that we see nowadays, that comes from the Western world, is basically a particular type of intelligence that tests a person's uh, uh, test a person in a certain type of intelligence. That don't necessarily mean that they're a genius in in a different way. Because I've been around a lot of technical people in the technical fields, and there's a lot of geniuses out there that can't tie their shoe, but they can, tell you with the square root of pi to the 100th digit off out off the top of their brain, or they can write a digital code, or they can't even organize their own room. So there's different types of intelligences out there. So when we're talking about people that go get these opportunities to go to these colleges, maybe they're not the best when it comes to analytical intelligence, like a student that might go to MIT, but they're great at emotional intelligence or great at communicating with people, so they get an opportunity to go to a political science college like a Harvard or Yale and get into politics. So yeah, I think that's the hard pressing issue that a lot of people that these prestigious universities have to deal with. They can't just say, okay, well, this kid might be a savant when it comes to, analytical intelligence, but they're not going to be able to, pursue a degree in political sciences because they're not going to be able to communicate properly and influence the masses because they just don't have that emotional intelligence and that charisma to communicate with people and influence them. So when we talk about these different type of intelligences, I think we have to be careful on how we claim someone is smart or so-called smart or so-called isn't smart, because there's no real medium on how you be able to judge someone's intelligence, because everyone's brain is built slightly different, so you can't really have like one particular medium to um, judge someone's particular intelligence. You just have to say, well, this person has the fortitude and the discipline to go to school and finish all their assignments and finish them on time. Because I know a lot of geniuses that might be on Skid Row, living in the tent somewhere, but they have an IQ of 200. And then some guy, he's a CEO of some company, and some Fortune 500 company, and he's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. But he's always been an idiot, but he has a lot of drive and a lot of motivation, and he knows how to get out there and talk to people. So yeah, that's what it's all about when it comes to capitalism. Just because you're intelligent doesn't mean you're going to be successful. And I think that's what Joy Reid was trying to explain to people, where though um I didn't see the entire interview. I was watching bits and pieces of it. And you also have to keep in mind that Joy Reid is paid by CNN. So she's always going to push a certain narrative that's going to be opposite of what they talk about on the other side of the aisle. But yeah, I think that's what she was trying to say, that hey, there's plenty of people in these prestigious universities that aren't so quote unquote geniuses, but they get these opportunities. And I land my plane with that.
Go ahead, Africa. Then I'll
Yeah,
pass it down.
greetings everyone.
Well,
Okay,
let me read
greetings
this. Let
everyone.
me read this from chat first. Gustavo, thank you for Alhala. Bro, it doesn't matter if you went to Harvard for drumming. It's still Harvard. It's the perception. It opens doors. Same with Oxford in the UK. All right, go ahead, Africa.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dennis. Greetings to everyone, panel and chats, and yeah, please support the channel. Great work as Dennis always does for us. Yeah, I mean it doesn't matter to me, to be honest. I mean, we living in the UK. I don't know if you guys know about John Major. Um, he was one of the best conservative prime minister in the United Kingdom. Um, who actually happened to be a conservative who was quite closer to the working class, which is very unusual because they're a very elitist party. And he managed to bring the Conservative Party closer to the working class. He never went to university. He actually he went to school and he had three O levels, and then he opted to walk into the banking sectors, and then Then after that he became United UK Prime Minister, British Prime Minister. So these people that went to university sometimes they can be far distance to the general masses, which I think probably my sister is trying to point out also, because when you go to university, all your social circle, these people are quite elitist in their mindset. That also distance themselves from the average people that they claiming to represent as politicians. And I think that's the problem that we have in the UK as we speak, because right now people are seeking for those type of politicians, actually have less elitist mentality, who are very working class, to understand how it's like, to be an average man who just get up and do a plumbing job or electrician, paying his bills and stuff like that, and who obviously is not paying, who is not being overtaxed, and and stuff like that. So it doesn't matter. And also, like, the intelligence, yes, of course. Someone said that people in the street that you might find with a higher IQ than the average guy in the university, this just point out it doesn't matter. And also, we have military leaders that never went to school, and they actually tend to be better leaders than some of the university graduates. The only thing the only thing, in this day and age, though, I would encourage our people is to go into more of this technology, technological advancement like AI, because that's the future, especially with to do with engineering. That is going to help us
What
a
I'm
lot
doing.
in the country. Oh yeah, wicked. That's pretty good. That's going to help us in the future, because that's the sector I'm working in the UK, where a lot of the companies are laying off some of the top engineers, replacing them with the things that the AI does, and for profit. And also, these things are doing the job just like a top engineer. So very soon, some of these jobs will go and they will be replaced by machines. But I'll make it short. Thank you very much, Dennis. I'll pass the mic for now.
Are you a
Go
tech?
ahead, Elvis.
All right, thank you, Dinus. Look, I think people have to understand Harvard, for example, is an academic institution. It's meant to test your academic aptitude. So to get into Harvard, it's not just by a fluke. You have to be usually in the 1% of your class. You have to have a certain GPA
You have
minimum,
to have
usually a
money.
four. Yeah, that too. If you're going there, and paying. Well, you also have to have these requisites. You have to have at least a 4.0 GPA. You have to do relatively
Not if you
well.
have money.
Please, brother, don't interrupt me. Let me just
My
make my
bad,
point.
my bad, my bad, my bad, my
Right.
bad.
So you have to have, a high SAT or ACT score. Those things are testing your aptitude, that you're smart enough. And then they'll put you against another student. And the things that might put you over the top is, for example, your extracurricular activities that you have outside of school. So what some of these kids do, they might go to Africa for a summer to have some experience working and doing some kind of like NGO type work. Some people, are doing music stuff, or they're doing sports, they're doing something different, that might give them that little hump. And then your essays, your for your entrance, that essays play, your essay play a big part into getting there. They want to know how your mind works, how you can articulate and express yourself. So it is an academic, test. And those who are stay on the path academically from their high school years up to their college, admission, they're testing to see how focused you were, and how well you apply yourself in high school. So yes, there might be other people who are smarter, but part of being smart is not wasting opportunities. So if you're in school and you don't apply yourself well and you don't get the good grades that requires you to go to a higher institution, to make maybe get a better living and get an education that can sustain your life for the rest of your life, that's not being so smart. So yes, you might be smarter than the quote unquote Harvard kid, but he just applied himself better and was more focused. So now when you get into the school, the second part is picking a major. If you don't know what you want to do, or if you pick the wrong major and maybe you're not as gifted in that field, then some people have issues once they're in a university or in the college itself. But I think getting there, it is rigorous, and not just anybody can get there. You have to be at the top, academically, at least throughout your high school years, to really be even considered to get into a Harvard. So let's not poo-poo and make you think that just anybody can enter. academically, you have to be astute. You have to be at the very top level. But thank you, Dynasty. I'll pass the mic.
Hey, can I say something,
Can I
Dennis?
say something real quick?
Go ahead, Bang.
You
Then,
know,
then, then, then I'll let a couple more people talk. Then we gotta close out. Go ahead.
okay,
Oh, let me
okay,
get one more chance to talk.
Okay, go ahead, Bang.
okay. Dennis, you went through the University of Georgia, right? Yes,
Right.
which means you went there for football as well. So the university, tremendously, got something out of you, right? Because you went there, you did everything in football, right? And then at the same time, they made great amount of money of you as well. And then you got this, you got the scholarship as well, right? So it's the same way. It's the same with colleges around the world. When you look at it, because to me, the problem how people come up here and say, "Oh, like Africans are benefit off of these things," right? The university benefit off it as well. So it's not just the student; it's the university as well. Just as how if you graduate from, say, a Columbia Law School, right, and then you then become one of the top lawyers in America or just around the world, right? Columbia is going to use that forever to recruit other people as well. Same thing with college and football as well. Just like how if you got a Heisman, you got a picture and everything, right? When high recruit comes in, I'm talking about high recruit, right? They use you as a reference as well. So colleges have their own agenda. It's not about what's fair was this. No, their agenda is to be at the top. It's to compete with other colleges as well. So people got to stop looking at these things as like, oh, colleges is like, oh, cherry picking and do things with favor.
Dynasty,
No,
can
no,
I
no, no.
respond
They
to
all
him
have
and
they
and
all have
and
their agenda. Their agenda
Elvis?
is to compete to be at the top as well. So let's be fair. People come up here act like colleges are just cherry picking Africans because they're just Africans. No, some of these people that went to these colleges they earn it. Just like how if I come from a medical household, right? It's much easier for me to become a doctor or like anything medical wise because you know why? My parents came from doctors, all these medical things. So I'm more familiar with it. It's much easier for me as well. Just like how if you live in in a rich suburb, you probably have a tutor that comes in and help you with your homework. You probably have somebody that comes and help you on the weekends as well. So you understand, right? You have more access to things compared to somebody that live in a decent neighborhood that really don't have like private tutor that comes in and all these things. So life is not fair. At the end of the day, these universities, right? They have to compete for themselves to be at the top. That's all it is. You win and I win. Some of these universities, just like how Michael Jordan, what you call it, North Carolina, always use Michael Jordan as a reference. You go all these other colleges, you got some great, excellent students, right? Real smart people that I've never heard about them, but they know they work in high tech companies, right? These universities use these people as a reference as well. When you have some of these top students that comes in and say, oh, this
Did
right
Joy
here.
Reid say that Africans were only getting in there based off
No,
DEI or
that's
something?
not.
I'm not.
That's not.
I'm
No,
But
no,
confused. I
no.
that's
don't
I'm
not
know.
gonna end
Jordan.
this right.
Somebody
It's
here made
just,
that
it's
argument.
just. I'm gonna end this. I'm gonna end it. It's just how some people try to put it as if it's like
Who
it's like a
though?
favor or something like that. All I'm saying is this: colleges have their own reasons why they pick certain people. Colleges have to compete. Same thing if you like college football, if you like college basketball, you work for that degree. You work for that scholarship as well. So let's be honest, man. Some of these kids that you see
What he's saying, you
that
have to earn
they
your
in
way to
Ivy League
college. That's
school,
what he's
they
saying.
earn it, man. They earn it. Let's be
I
fair.
get that. Like, cause I
Some
want to
of us, man,
respond to
we
Elvis
don't.
too, but
Yeah, just like how Elvis was saying it, right? Some of us do not prioritize ourselves to be in certain position. So let's not say, oh, somebody that go to Ivy League school is dumb. Nah, nah, nah. For you to go to Ivy League school, you have some type of common sense. You have some type of common sense. Sometimes people just because you smart because you went to Ivy League school, you like automatically super smart. Nah, 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 nah. That's not what it is. It's just that they probably earn it in a different way. And at the same time, family connect as well. But please, colleges look out for themselves, just like how you look out for your family as well. I'm gonna end it right
I
there.
agree. I agree with that. My whole thing, I'm not saying that the people that get into Ivy League schools, like, let's be very clear. I couldn't get into Ivy League school. I'm not even gonna front to y'all like I'm some genius. Not a genius, because again, that's my whole point. You don't have to be a genius necessarily to get into these Ivy League schools, especially if you have money. The point that I'm saying is just because you go to an Ivy League school doesn't mean that you're smarter than Dynas that went to the University of Georgia. Dynas is a very intelligent human being. You know, the reason I come to his platform, shout out to you, Dynas. But the point that I'm saying is, I don't think, and again, I'm not camping for Joy Reid because I could care less what she says. But the point that I think she was getting at is that in a lot of cases where you look at somebody that went to Harvard or went to Stanford or went to Notre Dame, you look at them as if they're smarter than necessarily what they are. Don't get me wrong, they might have had to do something to get into that school. But I mean, you know, and again, I don't even have a problem with somebody that's just a grinder that cheated. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. You know, I'm not on. You know, let me not. But you do what you got to do. They did what they did. They needed to do. But there's a lot of these people that are in corporate America that are in high level positions that really aren't any smarter than you or me. You know, and I'm not saying that I'm, you know, at this level to, you know, be able to do, you know, this or that. But what I'm saying is this: they did what they needed to do to be able to. It's not about what you know; it's about who you know. So if you're able to get in a position to be able to get in, you know, that school or in this position or know this person or know, like there was the whole thing or whatever with the Hollywood people or whatever, they were paying people to get their kids into different schools that they weren't able to be able to get into. You know what I'm saying? And that ends up getting them in positions to be able to get into other jobs that other people might not have the ability to be able to know the people and be in the positions to be able to get in. That's what I'm saying. And I feel like, and again, I'm not caping for Joy Reid because I can't stand, I don't care nothing about her. Yeah, I can't stand her. You know what I'm saying?
Those crazy
but what I'm saying is
Democrats. That's exactly what she is.
But exactly, and that's very true. But what I'm saying
That's exactly
is,
what she is.
she's not wrong in saying that a lot of these people that you just automatically, oh, he went to Harvard, so he's smart. They're
but
not.
Look at this, right? My brother.
They're
Can
not.
I respond to that?
Brother, man, you're Black
go ahead.
American, right?
Yeah,
You're
so
Black
real quick,
American, right?
let me respond to that real quick. Here's the thing: I don't
years ago.
disagree with
I
you.
am.
Hold on, guys. Let me read this super chat. Not true. You can get into Harvard easily if your grandfather went to Harvard. Actually, more people get into Harvard. Who was speaking?
I was.
Go ahead, Antamorlin.
So here's the thing: I'm not disagreeing that these people are. I'm not saying these people are the smartest, but I'm saying when it comes to universities, I'm gonna use Harvard specifically, in this that they're not honestly selecting students because of their intellectual ability. They're selecting them for what they consider future prestige. In other words, they're choosing people who will make Harvard look great and more and powerful in the future. So they admit brilliant scholars, for example, but the admission from them is more broader than they look for people who are most likely going to become senators.
Yeah, they won't take a dummy. They won't take a dummy. Yeah, I get you.
CEOs, media figures, basically anybody who can say, okay, this person came from Harvard, they have influence. So they're not building people like when you compare to other universities. This will say it's not an easy subject, it's a nuance, because I'm not gonna say that like all universities are the same, because when you look at universities like in America or the world that are known for their technical output more than anything, they don't have a lot of influence. You don't hear about the universities. I mean, you hear about it, but don't hear them when it comes to your, like, for example, how many of your senators came from like MIT? How many of your senators came from like a technical university that produces more engineers? That's my argument. I'm saying Harvard is looking, saying who's gonna be more likely to be a CEO, a powerful figure, an intellectual, or a senator or a billionaire. And if you look at it, those are gonna be people who already come from those circles. That's why the network matters. That's my
right. But what I'm saying is that
Oh yeah, can I talk a little bit?
Let respond first, and then we can talk.
Yeah. Well, the only thing I'm saying is the people that come from those circles are not necessarily smart at all. They're people that have literally had born with a silver spoon, don't know anything, don't have any work ethic, this, that, and the third. And they're literally pushing them through those centers because it will make more sense to say, well, hey, he graduated from Harvard.
Yeah.
He's Harvard alum or whatever, to say, hey, you should, what are you talking about?
Okay.
This dude,
One last question.
like Dynas or whatever that went to Georgia, like, He just went to Georgia. He was just a football player. He doesn't know anything. What are you talking about? This guy graduated from Harvard, but this dude was a C student his whole entire life. Dynus was a, and I'm not saying that I know, that about Dynus, but what I'm saying is Dynus was a student, top of his class, did everything he did, and was an excellent athlete. But we don't look at him in that way. But this person that was
quick. What do you think if you're influential to some extent? If this person is influential, do you think they're not smart to some extent, or are you saying they're not as smart as you think?
What I'm saying is you can make somebody influential.
Okay.
You can make somebody influential. Again, I come to Dynus. Dynus made himself influential on his own accord. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, we can do conspiracy stuff, or hey, they pushed his platform, which Pan-African platforms, they're not going to do that. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is this: he did it on his own. There's a lot of people you didn't know nothing about.
He gambled on his own.
Yeah,
hey, can I get my last thought out real quick?
There's a lot of people you don't know nothing about or whatever that they push forward, but then they have that Harvard or Stanford behind them that all of a sudden you just automatically assume, well, hey, this person, they had to do this or they had to be in this situation. They had to be a little bit smarter than the next Joe to be able to be in that situation. And I don't think that that's always the situation. I think that they put certain people there and that's how it goes. I don't think that they're the most smart. We all have known somebody, even through high school, that wasn't as smart.
I might lose my train of thought real quick.
Go ahead. I'm gonna stop.
Okay, I wanted to say I was always taught when I was in philosophy that there's a difference between being smart and intelligence. Intelligence is what you do. We judge civilizations, ancient civilizations, by the things they left behind. We got the Carthaginians, they left aqueducts and Sistines, we have the pyramids. And today, Black Americans, we always go back to Black Americans in comparison to Africans and Americans, right? So I think that the confusion happens when Africans associate our intelligence, the things that we built and created, the culture, the whatever, all of the things that you could associate. One of the things was created by a man named Jesse Russell. He went to HBCU, the digital cellular network with the fiber optic cables. Another man went to the same HBCU, Tennessee State. Mark Dean invented the personal computer. Another man, David Blackwell, he developed his theories and his mathematics working at Howard University after getting his doctorate degree at the age of 22. He worked at Howard for 10 years, and that's how we got the AI mathematics. But I think a lot of the Africans associate what we have with white people. Or they say, okay, maybe it's because they got the genetics because of the rape. Maybe it's because we in proximity. So instead of them coming to us, like some of them did, we got the Tinubu, he went to Chicago State. We got Kwame Nkrumah went to the HBCU. I can't think of it right now. Lincoln. But I think for the most part, the modern era, they say if we get to the white man and bypass the blacks, we're going to get the intelligence to do better than them. Not even equal, like build schools and infrastructure, cities, music genres. You say we're gonna get to the plug, the white man at the plug. So you're looking at Harvard University or Princeton, and because you got in, maybe you got in on your own merit, maybe you got affirmative action, but they think because they got this degree, it's going to equate to intelligence, which is going to build their civilization. And then, like the previous couple of people that was talking about, they're going to choose you for this job. They're going to choose you. Really, if you got intelligence, you're going to choose what you're going to do. Like when Booker T. Washington got.
Hold up.
Check this out.
No. Before you go, let me just respond to him real quick. Because
hold on.
Because
let him respond. Hold on.
Let me just respond.
Let him respond.
Okay, go ahead.
The only thing I want to say is, even from what he was talking about, right? I agree to a degree to what he's saying, but like what he was talking about, even with intelligence, right? I think intelligence, especially in 2026 right now, is all of us realizing whether you consider yourself FBA or African or whatever the fuck you want to call yourself, you know, but you're a melanated person that comes from the continent that we know that. And I don't want to argue with the people that, you know, whatever, but this is the whole thing. Like, we did create shit here, the stoplight, the this, that, and the third. And there's certain people that don't understand that, come over and don't get that. But this is the whole thing. We haven't been intelligent enough to understand that, like you even said, hey, the white man, he's the plug. No, you as the African, you're the plug. You're coming over here trying to argue with us. You're trying to argue with us or whatever. You're the plug. Like, if we get together and figure out how to.
Can I at least finish my thought? I was almost
let him finish. Let him finish, please. I want to hear what he's got to say.
Yeah,
what I was saying was.
Yeah,
especially with everything that's going on right now.
Let me finish what I was saying, sir.
Right now.
Can I just finish what I was saying? Now, you saying, okay, the African people are the plug. I think they are the plug when we go back and learn from ancient civilizations or the whole Dogon that got this ancient knowledge. But as far as like modern intelligence, I think a lot of the African people felt that they're going to send a people to get education, and they're going to come back and help with the infrastructure because they've been basically played and deceived and ran through by the European colonialists. So they didn't really have a chance to do it. But you got the opportunity to get this, and then instead of going to the people who proved it, the Black Americans, you're going to say, okay, we're going to just go straight to the white man because it must have been a white man that caused the Black people to get this. Because what I'm saying, intelligence is what you create. It's not what's in your head.
Okay, example, got it.
It's what your hands produced. That's intelligence, like the jazz, blues, like Dynasty going to the jazz festivals.
If we go off of
okay, hold on.
That is our intelligence. All of the things that we create and do.
Let me respond to you, right? Let me respond to you. Yeah. What you saying? There's some truth behind it, right? Like me, I have a problem with Africans. They don't want to create their own. They just want to attach themselves to like an entity. I have a problem with that. I have a problem with that. The same problem that I have with Black Americans, so-called FBA, they want to attach themselves to the white people. For the past,
no, we don't.
20. Hold on. Let me
see. That's projection. We don't attach ourselves to white people.
Let him finish.
Hold on.
Because let him finish. Because let him finish. Look at how like because I always go back to sports and then certain like other things, right? Look at sports right now, right? Years ago, in the 90s, in the 80s, as well, and probably like the early 2000s, right? Most young NBA players, right, used to come from like regular neighborhoods, Black schools, right? Regular neighborhood Black schools. Nowadays when you look at it now, majority of them usually go to like private owned schools, right? That are technically white owned. You understand me, right? So that is the same thing that you said that Africans come up here, they attach themselves to the white people. So if your people, when they get the opportunity, they quickly run to a white owned institution, right? Instead of them staying or go to a Black owned institution that's not well, financially, access wise, money wise, right? They don't. Instead of
give an example.
Okay, look at Florida, right? Florida. There's a school called what's the school?
Give an example of a person that did it.
That's a whole bunch.
No, honestly, no. There's not even. There's not. It's not even necessary.
Okay. No, it's not. It's facts.
No. Time out. Let me say one little thing.
There used to be great basketball players. Used to come from a Black neighborhood high schools. It used to be. Now it's not. Especially in the last 20 years. It's the same thing when you take it back about 20 to 40 years ago, right?
Isn't LeBron James' son from one of those schools?
The black elites, right? That's real smart, super smart, right? What do? They don't pick so-called Black colleges, right?
Shedeur Sanders played for HBCU.
They pick white colleges.
Yeah, because his father was there. He followed his father.
Right.
Carmelo Anthony went to Oak Hill in Maryland
Yeah.
from New York because they recruited him. That's a private
Well, no,
institution.
and again, like
No, but
we use
let me
these
finish
little
this. Let me
things.
finish this,
We,
right?
no, no,
Let me finish.
go ahead,
Let
go
me
ahead,
finish
go ahead.
this. Just give me, right? Then how can you use the same example?
Thank you for the program, sir.
Majority
Okay, yeah, we're closing out.
Dinus, come on, come
Bang,
on.
you got 30 seconds. We got to close out.
Oh, come on, man.
Yeah, but
All
this,
right.
this,
Yeah,
but this is what I don't get, right? You complaining about Africans coming up here picking white institution when your people are doing it 10 times more compared
Who's
to Africans.
complaining about Africans coming here and picking
No,
white
he was
institutions?
the dude.
Because I haven't heard that. I haven't heard it.
The dude was doing it.
said it right here.
Dude, and was doing it, man. I'm gonna end it like that, man. That's why I don't understand.
Who
Y'all
but
was-
Okay,
wait,
guys, we
time
got to
out, because
close
I
out.
didn't catch
Everyone,
that.
thank you for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Until next time, family.
Man,
Down at the
yeah.
Search for